historically, if you really want to go back, I guess when he was a kid, he said that they ate all kinds of things, including chicken and all parts of the chicken. So the chicken wing wasn't anything new to him, even though I guess maybe people threw certain parts of the chicken away. They didn't. He came from Alabama, and so probably a lot of people can relate to that. So, and as a child, he also told me that he had some cooking experience. He cooked with his dad on a steamboat. His dad was a cook, and I guess he went with him, with his father. So, seems to be just the way he kind of grew up, around food and cooking and that type of thing. But when he came to Buffalo, he did, after working for other places, including also, I think it was called Colonial House here. It was a restaurant called Colonial House. But he also worked for Buffalo Radiator. But eventually he got into his own business up on Jefferson Avenue. Jefferson and Carlton was his initial startup, him and his sister Dorothy Young. And it was there that a friend of his from Washington, D.C. kind of told him about chicken wings that were being sold in that area. And it was a pretty good venture, he thought. And so my father took his suggestion, started focusing in, I guess, on chicken wings as opposed to maybe, all the other, the breast and the thigh and all that. And very quickly it took, and he put his own barbecue sauce with it. His brother and sister also had a restaurant. They were doing chicken and different things, and they also had their own sauce. Depending on how far you go back, people might remember La sauce and the Boogaloo sauce. But my father's was Mumbo Sauce. And he did that sauce, which was kind of like a tomato-based but sweeter sauce. Later he added some other ingredients to give it a little bit more flavor, fruits. And from Carlton, I believe he had a little bit of a time at Cayuga and Jefferson at another spot, but it was at Jefferson and Utica where he became probably most well known for his chicken wings and mumbo sauce. And the way I hear it, people were lined up, long lines around the corner waiting for these $10 for $1 whole chicken wings with mumbo sauce. So in the 60s is when he started initially. We left in 1970, but he came back in the 80s, and his brother Paul had that restaurant on Delavan, but his brother Paul let him use that spot for his location to get restarted in Buffalo at that time. So that was a big area, the one on Delavan across from the Chevy plant. And at that time, the Chevy plant was up and going. Yes. So all those men and travelers, people who were traveling from out of town. I just remember one, which, you didn't ask me, but I'm just thinking about travelers. There was a family, very unusual. In my mind, because I was working that day, it kind of put me in the mindset of like the Clampetts. I mean, the Clampetts, really. That's how, I don't know if the word is hick, but whatever they were. But they also stopped through looking for one particular product, which we did not carry. That was part of the pig, but they did get our wings, and they did appreciate that, yeah. Not that I'm aware of, no. My father, he did have some sauce, and he had bottled it in a few places here while he was alive, but it would be John Young's mumble sauce, and since he has deceased, there shouldn't be anybody carrying that name in representation of him. My father's business started around 62, 63. And that's early on, maybe 63, as she started selling whole wings. He was buying his wings, as far as I know, from that time until from Will Poultry. And over the years, this kind of conversation has been had. And I can't remember this other man's name, but he was the one who sold my father's equipment, a lot of his equipment. It was a Jewish gentleman. And I remember in other, like what we're having discussions, Will Poultry, said to their knowledge, receipts show John Young buying whole wings from them before anybody else was buying whole wings from them. So unless they were getting some wings somewhere else, so that was one thing. And the other gentleman who would supply him with his equipment, he also, was back in Buffalo at that time. So my father, I'm pretty sure, is the one who started selling buffalo wings, whole wings with mumbo sauce. It could be that Anchor Bar, split the wing, where the folks want to split the wing and serve them the way they're commonly served now, with blue cheese and celery, which is what most people feel buffalo wings are. So they could have been the first to do that. I'm not even sure, but they could have been. But as far as the selling whole wings and mumbo sauce, my father was doing that first. Well, it's been nice. It's been actually exciting. Like you said, there has been in the time past, especially when it comes to like around Black History Month. So a few years ago, there was a couple of local radio stations. They brought it to light. Different newspaper, like you said, the Criterion and Challenger. They've always, over the years, have tried to, which is like the newspapers in the Black community. They've always tried to keep that up front. So I don't want to not give them that credit, because they always have. You mentioned even Eva Doyle. She maybe 3 years ago had talked about maybe trying to get a landmark on his original place. So people have over the time. A few years ago, they were in the Chicken Wing Festival that they have in Buffalo. He was honored there. But this year, when Black History Month came up, we had a little piece on Channel 7 News, and that particular reporter, some kind of way, got in touch with Mark. And I will say that Mark's take on it, as apparently historian in Buffalo himself, and because of the business that he has, it really was able to bring maybe a bigger opportunity for people to be able to experience John Young whole wings with mumbo sauce. And just the fact that I think that he's also trying to do things from a correct historical perspective, even if he didn't have the bike tour, but it's just a person that's kind of like you, looking at history in Buffalo and real history in Buffalo. But you just get the extra with the bike tours. So, by him having the food tour and being able to add my father onto that food tour regarding chicken wings, since Buffalo is known for that, I do appreciate, and that's been very nice, being able to meet various people and even hearing comments from people who might haven't even done his tour, but they've seen the articles and have heard of his tours, even though they haven't got on the bike. How else can we get it? So I've been trying to tell them, get on the bike. You got till October. So it's been good, and I appreciate the effort that he's put into it. Well, I won't say that. First of all, I don't think anything especially until we get a handle on COVID, that I would be able to do, say I could do anything. I mean, so many businesses have opened, even the last year, and you see what's happened to them, and that's something that can't be helped. So I wouldn't say that, I'm about to open up a place as far as that's concerned. I'm also involved in some ministry activities, which has a lot of my time and effort is generated into that, and I can't be I don't know if the word is distracted. I don't want it to ill affect my ministry, but if I'm able to, at least maybe bottling the sauce. I don't know. Cooking wings is a task. Bottling the sauce, making some sauce is not too bad, but when you have to cook wings and, put just for the sauce. So hopefully people are good at frying or air frying or doing something, and I can maybe provide them with the sauce down the line. Yeah, that's definitely a consideration.